ダメよダメなのよあんたが
You're sick of slow queues and tedious dungeon runs. Why not play White Mage? No role carries quite like healer in 4-man content, and White Mage is a simple, powerful job. Yeah, it's the vanilla ice cream healer, but guess what? People love vanilla ice cream. You're going to learn how to tackle any dungeon in the game as everyone's favorite layer casting wizard. What are the strengths of this job? You have the highest damage potential of any healer and some of the best direct healing tools in the game. White Mage is beginner friendly and easy on the brain, and you don't need a lot of experience to carry since its kit is great at dealing with unexpected problems. Despite this, plenty of high-end players still main it. Why? Well, it's fun to blow things up. Let's start with keeping the tank alive. We're going to focus on higher level dungeons here because, well, you don't need me to tell you how to spam cure on a tank and vendor whites. Godspeed, you poor soul. Let's not get it twisted. You're a green DPS, but technically, this is what Square pays you to do. Fortunately, tanks these days have so many personal defensives that they really only need a helping hand in dungeons, even during wall-to-wall pulls. These are your best bets. Oh, and this, but we'll talk about it after. Asylum is the bread and butter. It's a 24-second dome that heals everyone inside it and increases their healing taken. 100 potency may not sound like much, but over the course of 24 seconds, this adds up to a lot. Taking into account the tank's own passive heals and mitigation, Asylum alone can pretty much do the job. With its 90-second CD, however, it won't be up for every pack. Enter Temperance. You will rarely need these things together in any dungeon content, but alternating between them will get you a lot of mileage. Temp's flat damage reduction for everyone around you is huge for reducing tank damage. Less damage taken, less healing needed. Simple as. On the smaller side, you have 2 Divine Benisons. Throw them on the tanks while they gather mobs to stave off some damage. You can weave it with a regen, which remember, as of patch 6.2, won't generate enmity with every tick, so is safe to slap on even pre-pull. And even if you do get aggro, just keep running alongside the tank and they'll fix it. Finally, Benediction. Besides being the game's flagship oh shit button, it can be deliberately used as the only heal you need in any trash pull. It does exactly what it says in its one-sentence tooltip. It restores all of a target's HP. Tactically letting your tank get pummeled and then Bennying them will give you a rushing sense of power, and happens to be an extremely efficient way of healing dungeons. Honorable mentions to the Tetragram Cracker and Aquaveil. During single target fights where your weave windows are plentiful, these are great tools. In AoE dungeon scenarios where your full GCD is spoken for, they can be a little clunky to slot in. Now, let's get to the real content here. White Mage damage is insane. AoE, single target, on the moon, in the vault, it doesn't matter. You excel everywhere. Groups should be thankful that some of your best damage cooldowns just happen to have healing or CC built in. I'm talking about this star-studded lineup. Lilies are a core part of your damage madness. Do not be fooled by the mention of healing in these tooltips. This is what we're here for. Every 20 seconds you're in combat, you get a Lily. Spend them on either the single target Afflatus Solus or the AoE Afflatus Rapture. After 3 spends, you get this beast, Afflatus Misery, one of the highest potency abilities in the entire game. It's an Eorzean nuclear bomb hiding in the pockets of someone protected by the Geneva Convention. You will feel like a war criminal wiping out entire packs with this. In any dungeon scenario, you want to rack up as many blood lilies as possible. Anytime you can sneak in an extra lily heal that couldn't be spent on an attack, like the boss is invulnerable in roleplaying or while you're running in between packs, it's a very sharp damage gain. Now, I've already mentioned Holy. It is probably the best healer AoE spam in the entire game, at least in a dungeon context. When your tank rounds up a huge pack and you just start lobbing flashbangs at the insignificant cost of your own eyesight, you have solved the healing problem. When a mob is stunned, it isn't taking actions. Your tank, therefore, isn't taking damage. Its only issues are its range, requiring you to be directly on top of packs, meaning you have to dodge AoEs, or if you're cut off by a mechanic, you can't use it at all, and it's full GCD. If you don't have Swift Cast or something better available, you will have to clip your GCD in order to weave in an Assize or Benediction. Speaking of, your Assize is the biggest in all of Eorzea. You should use this on cooldown in both single and multi-target scenarios. I'm not kidding when I say the healing element to the spell is a happy coincidence. You mainly want the damage and MP from it. A lot of the time, the heal will actually help even if you aren't trying to line it up. And finally, we have our generic spam buttons, your single target and your dot. Glare, or stone at lower levels, doesn't need a lot of explanation. If there are 2 or fewer targets, spam glare. On bosses, this will make up a vast majority of your GCDs. The dot, however, has some interesting dungeon optimization. Obviously, you should apply and refresh it as normal on bosses, but it's typically a DPS loss to apply it while fighting trash. You'll get much more damage and utility out of spamming Holy. However, watch your tank as they pull through the packs. Most tanks will tag one mob and AoE the others, giving you a chance to apply your dot as you are moving. This is doubly important because you want to be in combat ASAP to get your lilies charging, so don't just stand there running alongside the tank like a spectator. Dot things. Just don't bother refreshing the dot when the tank comes to a stop. Also, you are the only healer with a personal DPS buff. Presence of Mind speeds up your cast time and GCD, allowing you to get even more glares and holies out. Use it on cooldown against bosses and trash alike. How does this all stitch together? Very simply, for every pull, throw a regen on your tank and weave in a Divine Benison. Dot every mob as you're moving. Small tip, if you throw a Benison on while the tank is in combat, it'll also fill up your enmity list and you can just dot down the column. When the tank comes to a stop, it's showtime. Swiftcast is your friend. Use it to get the first holy out and stun everything. In that full weave window, pop a size, and if it's up, presence of mind so you can get to holy spamming faster. If the blood lily is up, use it and weave anything you want. Your tank won't be taking damage while the mobs are all stupefied by your radiant glow, but once they're immune to your stuns, having an asylum or temperance ready will keep the tank healthy. If they do start taking real damage, toss them in a Flatus Solus and weave in a Benison or an Aquaphil, then get back to holy spam as soon as possible. When the pack's dead, keep your lilies from capping by spending them on the run. It doesn't matter if the healing does nothing, you just want the blood lily nourished. You don't necessarily need to spend them all, so long as you're not capped. It's okay to hold 1 or maybe 2 in reserve, especially if you or your tank are having a hard time. For bosses, just be the glare mage you always wanted to be, using your DPS cooldowns as often as possible. Just remember to use that blood lily on every pack you can, keep your Asai's on CD, and use lucid dreaming whenever MP is starting to tick down, preferably every time it's up. White Mage does a great job at all levels of play, and a lot of these principles transfer into harder 8-man content. As of patch 6.2, this job is in a very comfortable spot and lilies feel amazing to use. So get out there and carry some groups. Be the selfish anti-hero you always wanted to be. If you have any other White Mage insights or job comments, let me know. If you'd like to see other healer content, also let me know. I appreciate you for watching and I hope to see you next time.